Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene. I'm sitting a little too close to this guy.
Well, I was hoping Brittany would come today. But
well, you could keep reserving that seat. It's never going to happen.
Brittany's not here. So Rich and I are going to sit extra close. I'm John Popko. I work for Time Shamrock Communications with Rock 107 ESPN and Alt 92.1. And I am also the Saturday night host of Alt Natives on Alt 92.1.
And we're here with Kali Ma and the Garland of Arms, psychedelic indie alternative rock band from Wilkes-Barre. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Jami.
I'm Ray.
I'm Matt.
I'm Shiny.
Now they have a brand new debut album out, self-titled, so we're going to be talking about that. Yeah, that
there
one
it
right
is.
There. It's good stuff. You were listening to it earlier if you tuned in just a minute ago. And they're also going to perform at the free Burning Roses Jamboree at Nay Aug Park in Scranton on July 28th, which we did talk about extensively last week, so we're going to go with a different angle this week. And they're also playing the Bad Trip Psychedelic Music Festival next month at the Border Bar in Pittston. So we're going to talk about that as well. So if you want to trip out with us for a little bit and talk psychedelic music, by all means. Light one up, join the conversation.
Fire one up. Fire it up.
Pass it around, if you will. Please, speaking of which, share this if you're enjoying it. Share this with your friends. Let people know. Tag people
Pass
in
it
it.
around.
We would love to hear your questions and comments. We would love for you to participate in our conversation. The show is so much more fun when you guys join in. So if you have questions or comments for any of the band members here, or anything that they're up to, anything about the album, anything in general, just please leave them down below. We will get to them later on in the show. We're also streaming on Periscope on Twitter, so if you're more of a Twitter fan, you can join us on there. But you can't comment, so if you're watching on Facebook, stay on Facebook, comment with us, stay here for the full hour. Before we get to the interview, we do have some beers from provided by Beer Boys.
Yes, Beer Boys in downtown Wilkes-Barre. They gave us... Wait for this one.
Yeah. Is this a mouthful?
This is a PBR.
Oh.
PBR.
The finest of PBRs. That's it. That won a
Past.
blue ribbon at one point,
does.
probably like 100 years ago.
Yeah, at some point, and obviously.
Way before they made other craft beers, they won a blue ribbon.
This is a hometown brewery, and the name screams NEPA. This is Benny Brewing Down the Line.
Spelled with duh.
Right? Down the line. And a Terrapin Liquid Bliss.
And it fits nice in a paper bag, so it's like...
Yeah, exactly.
Good
It's
authentic.
perfect.
Yeah.
The real feel.
Start riots with
Sit
these if
on
you
the
wanted
square
to.
across the street.
Absolutely. And tonight is their glass night, like every Wednesday. This time they have, which I've never heard of this before, they're doing Cider Boys hard cider mixed with a shot of Fireball whiskey. I've never thought to put those two together.
They did that about a year ago.
But
it's very good.
I was going to say it sounds like it would be good now that you mention it.
Yeah, it's good.
So they have pretty much any flavor you can want: the peach, cherry, strawberry, sangria, raspberry, cranberry. And then you get the free Fireball pint glass or a T-shirt if you want. Cool. So make sure to stop down on Wednesdays. Don't tune out now, but stop down on Wednesdays and check them out. They always have a new promotion going on, something cool. And always have $3.50 personal pizzas with a half-price happy hour from 9 to 11 on Wednesdays as well. Which one are we starting with today?
What would you guys like to start with?
Oh, dude.
Never. Yeah,
Your
we're...
call.
The PBR.
I was going to say, just,
PBR,
you
totally.
guys looked like a bunch of hipsters.
Yeah, that's...
Long hair, stocking cap.
Yep.
When it's summertime, love it. I'm not making fun.
We were walking around Philly the other day because we went to see Beck, and a homeless dude actually said, "This isn't fucking Fishtown with long beards."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was rough.
He was yelling at us.
It's harassing my mom.
Sorry.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you tell me you didn't have a home?
It's like, you don't have a home.
Not that that's funny, but I mean,
No, but
I know, that's terrible.
The scoop of this bank isn't your home.
maybe you shouldn't be yelling about it.
Yeah.
Jeez. There goes this opportunity for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
That's not what you open with.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
you close with that when they
Yeah.
blow you
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, when they say no.
Yeah, exactly.
He opened with he chomped on a burger, threw the wrapper, and then he insulted us.
Oh, okay.
Pass that down.
Real impressive.
Down the line.
He
Down
does
the
not have
line.
the best survival instinct.
Down the line.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious to try the down the line. That sounds
Down
pretty
the
good.
line.
I like everything by Benny Brewery
that
so
one
far
this
that I've
is?
had from them. They're really good. There are a lot of IPAs and stuff
caps.
though, so if you're not into that, you might not dig everything that they put
Pinky
out.
out, bro.
Really? Are they big on IPAs?
They have
Start
a
out
lot of
keeping it-
like leaning
keeping it
that
real.
way.
Yeah, I brought my own bag.
Yeah. Oh, forgot the paper bag.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cheers. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Cheers for having us.
Prosit.
Cheers.
Sehr Gemütlichkeit.
What?
1, 2, 3, Gesufa. That's my German chugging phrase.
You guys Rammstein or what are you?
No, I won
Saturdays.
the Edelweiss Award
Only-
for
only
excellency
Saturdays.
in German in high school.
I can barely speak English. And you're throwing German out there. Jesus.
Get some pig Latin going on.
Well, for
That's
our
what
huge
we're-
German audience out there, I'm sure
Yeah.
they appreciated it. We also want to plug the V-Spot, our other sponsor, one of the most popular bars in northeastern Pennsylvania. Live entertainment every night of the week. This week they have Rare Form Duo tonight. We had Gabby from Rare Form last week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nowhere Slow Duo on Thursday. Fuzzy Mud on Friday. Anytime Soon on Saturday. And DJ Huff is hosting karaoke on Sunday. And our NEPA Scene Rising Talent open mic will return with a new format on Tuesday, September 4th, and run for 13 weeks. So it's going to be pretty different from what we've done before. We're excited to debut it. So we'll get to those details. Hopefully, within the next month, we will have Vinny himself on the show
Oh, Christ.
to
Yeah.
talk about
That's-
that. So
That'll be fun.
Entertainment.
Yeah, that's going to be
I
interesting.
wanna
We're going to
be
need a
here
lot
for
more PBRs.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
all I
tell.
can say.
Yeah, I'll buy some extra ones. But yeah, I see him every week. He's doing commercials on the radio stations.
Yeah.
Fucking riot, man.
Speaking
that-
of radio stations, the Furnace Frenzy last week was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was good despite the fucking rain.
Well, it rained the whole time, and yet everybody pretty much stayed.
Mhm.
And I mean, there was at least 2,000 people there. I'd say.
I don't know the
At-
final count, but it was up there.
It was definitely at least around 2,000. I'd say.
Yeah.
And most of them stayed the whole time.
Yeah,
which is pretty
I
cool.
think actually I started seeing people leave right before Dirty Heads got on.
Yeah.
So I guess people were there to see the opening acts, which were very good.
Yeah, everybody was really good. It was a good lineup.
It was. Good job, PK. He's an asshole too.
You just don't like anybody.
Well, I can
today.
say that because he's not watching.
Is it the rain?
It's the rain. I fucking hate the rain.
Ah, okay.
Dude, me too.
It's terrible.
My feet are wet. 'Cause I'm an idiot and wore sandals.
I changed my shoes when I got in the building.
Yeah. I'll take these off. I think. I gotta pipe up my ass
And you're smelling up
and
the
my
place.
wet feet. Yeah.
Great. Well, let's start with a little background on yourselves as musicians, because I know for most of you this isn't your first band or your first project that you worked on. So can you talk a little bit about your background as musicians?
Sure. I started out in the music scene probably 6 or 7 years ago with the band Mock Sun. And that was like a trippy, psychedelic, alternative rock band, more experimental than this band. Did that for a while, and I feel like that was kind of like my kindergarten or my preschool before this step, you know? Like, it got me ready
Your
for...
training.
Yeah, for everything. I learned how to go about promoting myself, marketing, how hard it was to get a gig in the beginning.
Making connections, I was just
Yeah, the
thinking.
connections, because at first there were none. So establishing connections over the last 7 years really helped get me ready for this time period. And, well, you know, you change over time, you outgrow people, what experiences. So that ended, and then I started doing some stuff solo and realized this would be really fun to perform out. It was mainly like a recording project that Kali Ma and the Garland of Arms started in 2013, but it was just me, my loop station, and a little Tascam recorder. So then I was like, I need to find some people to jam with and like do this out, you know.
I'm glad you did.
And collaborate with, because I love when other minds come into the mix.
Yeah.
So that was me before this.
Oh, years ago there was a bar, Nax, open, and I used to play a lot with this guy Terry Childers, and he's been playing since the '90s around here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I became really good friends with him, and when I was just learning how to play instruments, and he was a big inspiration to me, actually. Like just to like lay it all down and just be yourself and like that kind of thing. And the first show I ever played, I had to learn 20 songs in 10 days because he wanted me to play bass in some like cover band to open up for the band that he was in at the time. So
trial by fire.
yeah, so and then we were playing at Nax a lot, and met James Callahan and and a bunch of people like from the local scene, and
We're all getting the storm
Oh
warning.
no,
flash
it's
flood.
gonna flood.
Good thing we're on the 8th floor.
Last time,
Yo, it's gonna flood.
last
just
time
so
we
you
all
know.
got a warning. We had band practice. It just ended.
tornado
And
warning.
they told us a tornado was coming, and we're all like, "Oh yeah,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
let's take
Yeah,
shelter,
yeah.
guys."
Right.
The
Dude,
code will
that-
take you home.
Next thing we know,
Dude, it was the craziest thing because we were leaving band practice. We were packing up, and all of our phones were blowing up
Yeah.
about the tornado, and we weren't taking it seriously at all. We were all like, "Hey, let's go down to the storm shelter." And then
We're loading out gear, and
then the power goes out, and it wasn't. I got home. I just unloaded my drums, and my mom calls me because she works over at the VA, and she's like, "Are you home?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, she's like, "We're at a code black. There's a tornado," and I turn on the news, and I'm like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Because
Right.
Barnes and Noble, man. Oh my
Panera.
god.
While
It's
we were
crazy.
joking around, it was
we were
wreaking
joking
havoc,
around.
like,
It was like a
couple miles up the
serious
road.
thing.
Yeah,
Right.
I remember walking in my door like, after practice, and I'm like, man, this rain's really hard. And I opened my phone. I think maybe it was you, and you're like, Panera's roof is in Olive Garden or
Oh
something.
yeah.
Like,
It's like,
really?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm just home.
Like, I guess it's not a
Crazy.
joke.
Yeah.
Crazy. Happened so fast.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah, you were talking about your
I played
your
with
musical history.
yeah, Terry. I got to play with Terry Childers, and he's been around for a while. So like, just like Jamie said, she was having trouble finding those connections. I got a huge step in the door because he already had a ton. So I got lucky with that, and then we just started playing with other people, and
he
and
had a
it ended up here.
psychedelic band with Terry called Nothing Head, and they wanted to play with bands that were similar to them, and in the area there weren't many psych rock bands.
that's
so
how I met.
he got in touch with me because Mock Sun was pretty, weird, different, and that's how we met each other at a factory show. The
Oh,
factory
nice.
was still going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. And then we ended up here after playing with a bunch of I played in a bunch of different bands before, just sitting in with people, recording on albums and stuff, just playing on albums, and
He's part of the Charming Beards, was part of the
Yeah.
Charming Beards, a big part.
that was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
That's how
That
I
was a
met you,
huge-
Ray.
Yeah, that's how I met Shiny.
Yeah.
And that's we ended up here.
That's the
Yeah.
story.
And here we are.
Yeah. Well, this is actually the first serious project I've ever been involved in.
He's the youngin in the
with
band.
You guys. Yeah, before that, for years, I was just kind of, trying to write songs on my own. Just, saturating songs with, weird sound effects, trying to, learn new techniques, just, for shits and giggles almost. And, this is the first time I'm actually involved with people, and we're taking it seriously. It's kind of cool, to get my feet wet.
I used to jamming with robots. That's
Yeah.
how I started out too.
Yeah, I think that's where we all started.
It's like dancing with yourself. For years and years and years.
Well, I tried to start bands in high school with high school friends. You'd have the friend who bought a guitar, who wanted to play but never took lessons. But that helped because I was playing drums. I took lessons off of the late great Tommy Winder when I was a kid, and I would just jam myself in the basement. And then a friend got a guitar, and I remember that very first time. He came over with the guitar, and I played along to him playing. I was like, wow, it sounds like a band. It sounds like music. Oddly enough, because drumming had to be learned. I could always sing. There's a lot of singers in my family, just naturally. The first band I was ever in, I was actually lead singer. We were called Moonblade, and that started. I joined that band. I've been playing in bands since like officially playing shows in bands since like late 2004, 2005. The very first show I've ever played was a Moonblade show. And it was January 13th, 2005. It was us, Moonblade. It was us, Motionless in White, and Split 50.
Oh man.
Yeah, because they were just starting out too. And then after that broke up, I was in Auxilia. That was the first band I played drums in, actually, because I've always loved. I played drums, but I got really into singing, and then there was those days of singing, and then. Auxilia used to play like places like Metro and Backstage. And actually, somebody in the band was actually a former member of Motionless in White. And before I joined, actually, Chris played drums until they found until they found a drummer. And I've done a lot of things since then. Once Auxilia broke up, that's where I met Chuck, who was in the way. I was in the way with, and that's who. Like once I joined with Chuck, that's how I met people like in our scene now. Like I didn't know like Jay Luke or anybody until getting into like playing with Chuck, and then I met Jay Luke and Jansen, and that's how I met pretty much everybody here now. I mean, playing shows with the Way, I met Katie Kelly, who I eventually met Ray, and I've always been a fan of his guitar playing. And then I was playing with a band called Harlot, and one of our first shows we played with Mock Sun, and that's how I met Jami. And
Valentine's Day show. At the
it was the
Rattler.
Valentine's Day show in
the
2014
Rattler.
at the Rattler, yeah. And yeah, like years later, I was I did solo at Lies, and that ended, and I was kind of looking for something, and Jami put the feelers out on Facebook, and I'm like, oh yeah, because I've always wanted to jam with you guys. So
Yeah.
so we started. Our very first practice was actually, remember Stella, the Snowstorm Stella?
Yeah.
That our very first practice was the night before that hit. So the very first night Kali Ma got together was the night
And it was
Stella
March
hit.
13th.
It was
And it was the 3-year anniversary of me releasing my Kali Ma and the Garland of Arms solo album, so I knew it was meant to be. Like, this has
We
to
do
be.
blizzards, tornadoes,
Yeah.
floods.
Do it all.
We do it all. You having a flood party? We'll play it.
You kind of know too musically when you find the right lineup
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to do.
It's
Yeah.
really hard.
It's so easy. Like
Yeah, it is.
it was always so hard with schedules and everything. This is like so easy. It's freaking me out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Like we practice
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
And our
nice.
That's the cool
personalities
thing,
really
too.
mesh together as well. We get along so well, and we're always happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so pleasant
So
with
much
each other. and-
positivity,
and
like
that's
always.
new with musical projects that I've been involved in. There's been a lot of frustration that's gone
Oh, yeah.
with it in the past. This one's pretty smooth so far.
It's the first time. It's the first time I don't have to check if we're practicing. I know we're practicing.
Yeah.
So like, it's not when the day comes. It's like,
Know
hey,
where
you
to show up
guys still
and be
good? You guys
there.
good?
Right.
Like, I don't have to text it. We just know it's happening.
Right up until your other
Yeah.
members show up, you're like, like, are they gonna
Yeah.
show up?
Yeah, we don't have to say anything to each other all
Yeah.
day. We just know we'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I've been in
love that.
things
cool.
before, like I was there, ready to play a show, and they'd cancel, and I'm like,
Man.
and they had my gear, and I was gonna jam with other people too throughout the night, and so I had to.
So yeah, it just cuts your plans all the way down the
Yeah.
line.
I feel like I lucked out like a lot
Yeah.
with getting in this.
Yeah.
Definitely, just with the people in it,
You didn't have to go through
the nightmares.
the hard times.
Yeah.
Are we still boozing?
Yeah.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
color.
Let's keep it going.
I was gonna say, yeah. It's like I was looking at that. It looks like a grapefruit,
Grapefruit,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this color from this beer.
I noticed one of the comments in this feed was from Fred Griffiths. He said, my musical experiences started in the crib. What he's referring to is my dad is very musical. He plays the guitar and he's awesome.
Very supportive.
Yeah, very supportive of the band, but
Thank you.
the jam room was right next to my nursery. So I was in my crib and he was going off on the guitar, and he taught me a lot of what I know about music, as well as my mother. She's an incredible singer.
And she used to play the bass too, right?
Yeah, bassist. The music was just part of our household.
God, I remember before I even got my first guitar lesson with Rob Husty, my mom, she had like an old acoustic, and I remember her trying to figure out how to show me to play Iron Man. Like, it wasn't right, but it was the effort, you know? Like,
it was
so,
the start. It was
yeah. That's how much fun it was.
It's a good song to start with,
Yeah.
even if it's not the
Yeah.
right kind of guitar.
I actually always wanted to be a drummer, and I ended up playing guitar because
Two
nobody would
strings
buy
on
me
it or
drums.
You fool!
You
No, I'm
have
glad
to
you
have
did.
the
You
most
do.
patient parents in the
Yeah.
world if you're a drummer,
Yeah,
and you want that drum set for Christmas.
Oh, I made drum sets out of coffee cans. Actually, old CD cases made good snares and used pencils.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, the drum set I use today and the drum set on the album I've had since I was 16.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
it's a lot of history there.
Oh yeah. All right.
Still sounds good, too.
Yeah. There were times it sounded like it was mic'd when it wasn't. And, well, it usually does.
Yeah.
I take care of it, you know.
Mhm.
That's what I do.
It's kind of my thing.
It's kind of my
Some
thing.
love.
Yeah. Dust it off.
What's this one?
This is the Benny down the
Oh, this
line.
is down the line.
It's good.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
Good year.
Good year.
Is this French?
Swish
Got
it
a
around,
nice
spit it back
bouquet.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's foreign.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know if it's does it taste like it's down the line?
Yeah.
Somewhere down the line.
Yeah, somewhere down the line. So obviously you guys have a lot of good chemistry, so that make writing the songs for this album much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it really did. I was thinking about that the other day at practice because Matt brought a new song to the room, and we just it just
Went
happened.
nuts on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went crazy with it, and
Yeah.
it took a couple different forms over the course of the night.
Yeah.
It evolved because we're all putting our own, thoughts and ideas into it.
It's so fun.
Writing is really cool with these guys. I've been in bands in the past where it isn't really possible to write with the others that are present. You just have to come up with something and be like, here it is. You know,
Right.
like, here's the song. But with these guys, it's everybody's just intermingling their own ideas and styles.
There were, I think, some of the newer songs. They're not on the album, but we, even actually some of them on the album. Maybe they were
jam session
written or jam
turned
sessions
song.
that
Yeah.
were written, and
Yeah.
then we would play them a couple times out of practice, and then end up performing and or
Yeah.
performing it
Yeah.
the next time we were
Yeah.
played out.
Yeah.
Which was like.
There's one of
That's
them.
crazy. Like sometimes it takes like months to write a song, and it took us like a couple
I have
days.
a habit of recording all jam sessions and practices and stuff, so I'll re-listen to it later on and be like, whoa, this thing was really cool. And I'll send it to everyone and be like, yeah, we're going to work on that one. So that really helps us come up with material as well, capturing it and saving it.
We're very rhythm section. We always like the bass, the drum and bass, or like the
core.
the prominent thing, and we listen back to the jams and everything, and we'll hear like this one part of the jam session and be like, that's a song.
Yeah.
Or there's
Yeah,
a
we'll
part of a
just cut
song.
that
Yeah.
piece
Yeah.
out.
And then we'll work out of that.
I think it's the 12th track on here, I think.
Yeah.
It was just, we
You
were
look
just
out.
jamming, we were just bullshitting.
Yeah.
And I guess you were recording it, and
Yeah.
I remember we came back to practice and you had guitar
was-
over
it
it and
was-
stuff. And it was
yeah,
like,
because
it was, like,
it was cool
It was
because-
crazy. It was so
Like, hey,
cool.
remember that thing we were doing?
That's always the one that impresses me the most. It's Lookout.
Yeah.
And because we jammed on this one little section of it, and then I went away, and you guys, you made the loop, that electronic loop, and you guys like just wrote to that.
You were in Iceland, right?
No, I was in Punta Cana.
Oh, okay.
I know, it makes it sound like I'm just like this big
No, it's
explorer.
okay.
But I
He
did.
was on a ship.
I went there too.
I went away. You said I'm in jail.
Yeah. No, I went to Punta Cana, and I came back, and you guys already had that written, and then so it was just like that electronic loop, but and then I added what I was doing originally, and that's how the song came together. But I love that process because I have the first night we recorded that, and then I have the loop version of it, and then like when it was just the verses or just the choruses, and then when the verses started to come together, and then
It was almost like
chronicled the growth of that
yeah,
song.
that's the only song where it actually there's a chronicle of the growth of that
I
song.
remember
Golden
I was
section.
just listening to it on my cell phone. And I was like, and they started playing the main the bass and drums. I heard it in like this long. It was probably like a 10-minute, 15-minute long thing, and I just heard that little piece, and I was like, that sounds like a nice pop song or something, you know?
Yeah.
We just made this weird pop song. You know?
The last song on there, Exuvier, that drum beat, the do 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 ga do do boo, boo, ba, ba.
Yeah.
That actually is a drum riff that I wrote for an Auxilia song back in maybe like late 2008, 2009. And then we broke up, and the song never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
And it finally found a home, because I've been trying to fit that into another song since then, and it found a place, and it's on that album. So there you go.
That's another. I think you wrote the bass line for that too. You wrote the main lick for that too, and I think I was like, oh, let's just change it around, because it was like there's a
Yeah,
phrase
I was going
and I was
higher
like,
than lower, but you said
I was like, go low to
high.
high, and
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
that was that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
how-
much
that's
fun.
how we
This is
write.
the in-depth talk
Free-spirited
about
people.
each song.
Well, it seems like each song has these elements that are still unique and experimental, and then also there's like these like poppy, more accessible elements too. That maybe an average listener who would be like, hear the word experimental and be like, oh no, I want to turn on the jukebox, but then you listen and like, oh okay, wow, I
That's why
can
we're a
bob my
little-
head to this, I can,
Yeah.
and you kind of hook them in that way, and I think they get it from there. So that obviously was on purpose, and that was something that you guys were
Yes.
trying to.
That's
work
like
into
even
a
when
lot of the
we
songs.
put psychedelic, we even get a little weird about that,
I
because
always,
it's like
I always
because
feels
it's
like a
like-
dirty word.
I don't want them to
Such a
think
bad
we're like a jam band or something, because
Right.
we have some cool riffs and stuff, but they usually don't last for longer than a minute. So
That's why I always say indie pop. I always say indie pop first.
yeah,
Saying
indie,
psychedelic,
Yeah.
everyone thinks like we're a bunch of deadheads or something.
Yeah, I'm
And that's
heavily influenced by pop music of so many eras, like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So I always felt that was lacking in the music projects that I was in. So when I got involved with this, in my mind, I was set on, I want to make some pop songs. Like I want this to be something that more people can relate to and like bounce to,
Yeah.
dance to.
Yeah,
get
it's
into
like
it.
you play on the weekend all the time. Everybody's miserable at work all weekend. They don't want to hear some sad songs. They want to dance, you know.
Right.
Actually, when you sent me that Facebook message asking if I wanted to, jam with you guys, see how I felt about it, I remember it was like 4 paragraphs. It was so long. And yeah, it was really long, and I got it at like 3 in the morning.
We didn't want you to get the wrong idea.
And well, yeah, it was really descriptive. It was
3 in the morning, I was probably drunk. Just kidding.
No,
well,
we
I was
were-
just getting
we were
up, and I'm like,
Oh,
we were actually at
this-
Jerry's place in Plains. We used to live around the corner from that, and we
no, you might have been,
Drink,
because
and we're like, that's it, we're fed up.
there was a
We're
couple
gonna put
times.
together a new band.
Yeah.
It's like it's gonna be pop, but it's not pop.
Yeah.
But it is pop. It's like,
it's psychedelic, but it's
not
not.
this definition of pop. This
It's
other
experimental, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like,
but it'll be different.
Pull it up. Let's read it.
I actually tried to find
it's so
it.
great because
I
like
tried.
I said, I've always wanted to jam. I've always wanted to jam with you guys like for a long time. Like when Jami, you were doing Mock Sun and then even when it was just you two.
one. Yeah, doing Holy Raw.
Yeah.
That was the in between.
Yeah. So once I found out you wanted to make it a full band and you were looking for, you posted about looking for a drummer, I immediately messaged you because no, it was at the perfect time because Silhouette Lies broke up. There was always an expiration date on Umbriel, just because Grant was super busy, and he always said he wasn't gonna do that permanently. So Silhouette Lies was ending. Umbriel had an expiration date. The Way had an expiration date, and I was like, what am I gonna do? And then luckily, Katie Evans swooped down and saved me. She's like, you want to jam with me? And I was like, yeah. And then when you put the feelers out there, I immediately messaged you. I was like, I'm going to message you now before anybody else does.
And when you immediately messaged me,
I almost had to slap myself.
I
'cause-
immediately texted Ray. He was at work, and I was like, I have really good news. Call me when you get a chance.
I almost had to slap myself. I'm like my favorite drummer in the area
Aw.
wants to.
Shiny.
Sweetie.
I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought this was gonna be hard.
Yeah, we've always admired
Yeah.
Shiny's style. He's so
Aw.
eclectic and very talented.
I just remember even when I first met him, I didn't even really know him yet. Just seeing him singing along
Actually getting into it.
yeah, and he was a song guy. He wasn't the
Yeah.
typical drummer that's just all over the place.
Yeah.
He's just
I've always hated.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think of myself as the drummer. I've always just it's the part I'm doing in the band.
Yeah.
It's the part of the music making. I don't know. I don't think about it as I don't know. It's weird the way I think about it because I don't think about it as a drummer. I think about it as the song. I don't know.
And
I
we
think
all
that's why you're the best drummer ever, because you don't think of yourself as the drummer.
But we all equally have so much that in every song, we all have, it's all us. It's not one person writing a song. It's all
Yeah.
A lot of
all of us have
personality.
input on it, and everybody's has a songwriting ability.
We're all
So
composers.
it's
yeah.
amazing. Just having 4 people that can write songs in one band, and it's made it so easy because nobody's trying to show off or do flips off of the amps and stuff.
Take measuring. Measuring
Yeah.
dicks.
It's not a pissing contest. It's a band.
Yes, it is still cool.
That would be
though.
cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That comes later.
Yeah, we'll do that in an intermission.
I thought about doing headstands during instrumental jams and stuff.
There you go.
I might work that into the show sometime.
Jen from Eye on Attraction had a question that kind of plays into a little bit of what we're talking about. What are each of your biggest musical influences?
Oh,
you guys
geez.
have
I have
such
an
a
answer for
unique
that.
That's a mean
sound,
question.
that she said she did.
Can I go first?
Yes.
I am a very big 311 fan. I have been since I was maybe 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
And that has everything to do with the way I drum. I got really into them early 90s, and that album Transistor changed my life. It's kind of I know it sounds oh man, but yeah, it did. It changed my life. It's exactly the way I play now is because of that album probably. But I've been a huge 311 fan since I was a kid, and yeah, I think one of the best compliments I actually got it recently too, and I've got it in the past, but somebody was playing the album, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this is Shiny's band. Can you tell? Listen to the drums. It sounds like 311." And I didn't even tell. And I've gotten that in a different band before, and yeah, that's probably my biggest musical influence because that's how it started in the basement when I was taking lessons, and I would be jamming. I'd do my lesson, but then I would just be jamming and humming things in my head, and everything was kind of it sounded like that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So I'd start writing songs. I would simultaneously hum things in my head and jam, and it would always be inspired by Transistor. Yeah.
That's interesting because remember we were just talking about Exuvier, that drums that you wrote in the past for
Yeah.
Auxilia. Remember I was for some reason this reminds me of 311.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but that's why.
Yeah. Actually, Rich hooked me up with free tickets last year, the end of
I
last year.
remember that. I was
Yeah.
watching. I was
Saw
watching
them
that
at,
one.
yeah. It was fun.
For me, let's see, I'm all over the place. Bowie, T-Rex, Chris Cornell, Joni Mitchell, Lane Staley, all of Alice in Chains. Savage Garden was a big one for me. The Spice Girls. I'm all over the place. I love all music. The grunge scene did a lot for me. And later, pop music. I listen to Justin Timberlake occasionally.
It smells like pretzels.
Yeah.
And besides from musical influences, I'm very inspired by poetry. Beat poets like Lawrence Ferlinghetti, Allen Ginsberg, and even though he's not exactly a poet, but I consider him a poet, Timothy Leary, Hunter S. Thompson, another big one with regards to like my writing style, my lyrics. So those are mine. Jimi Hendrix, had to throw that in there.
I love beat poetry, so I'm definitely
Yeah.
That's Anne Waldman. She's another great. Your turn.
I know, it's so hard because it.
I still have to
It
think.
is
Go
really
ahead.
hard. I would just always loved music, like, and I just always wanted to do music. One of the first times I'm a guitarist, so the most interesting guitarist I ever heard when I was a little kid, Larry Lalonde from Primus, and that was just like.
That sets a tone.
It's
right
so
there.
weird. It's like circus music. It's crazy,
Yeah.
and there's these weird effects on it, and that's like if you ever heard me play, it's like kind of like the same thing. But over the years, I listened to a lot of old music, even old country music, and I would just like really nice songwriting, but like the dreaminess to it, and like just a really good song to listen to in the headphones, like anything like that. And
You're really into shoegaze.
yeah, shoegaze music I like a lot.
He introduced me to shoegaze.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was.
And in the 90s, like the whole thing that happened in the 90s where like I was listening to like Motley Crue and stuff when I was a little kid, and then this like all of a sudden on MTV there were all these crazy bands coming out, like even
New
Nirvana,
wave, yeah,
and then like
they're very
the new wave. Like I didn't even really appreciate that until I was a little older, and then I listened
Same.
back and I'm like, oh my god,
I
there's so
love new
much
wave.
Yeah.
cool stuff
Me
that
too.
Love and Rockets, like that's one I was just like recently like obsessed with.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's all over the place. I've been I go on these trips of listening to Brian Jonestown Massacre for like weeks straight, and then like I just whatever I feel at the time, and
Lou Reed.
it's basically Lou Reed is a huge influence on me, and T-Rex and Bowie also. And it's like really, there's a pop sense to it, but there's something ahead of its time about it. There's something
Right.
different about it. It's not just like cookie cutter pop music. It's like there's that pop sense to it, but there's something new and fresh to it. Like,
And you can't put like a
Yeah,
date or an
yeah.
era on it. You know,
and you can't
put
even
that out
throw a
any time.
genre at it, really.
Right.
That's what I like.
This is hard.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
trying to think. Like when you skipped over me, I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I always wanted to do it. Like when I was younger, I was really big into Danzig. I really liked Danzig.
That was one that Danzig one I heard from my crib a lot.
Yeah.
My
Oh, I
dad was
loved
always
it.
blasting that one.
It's funny. I actually bought the CD, and I was looking through my dad's CDs. He had the same CD I bought. Like he already had it. And I was like, oh man, I didn't know that. But yeah, that was big. My dad took me to see Alice Cooper when I was like younger. God, that was a long time ago. But that was big. That kind of ruined local shows for me because like when I got older and I went out and I'm like, what's gonna happen? You know, like what's this show gonna look like?
Yeah.
Right.
It spoiled me.
Yeah.
You know? You got like this whole
'Cause that's
stage.
Was that your
Big.
first concert? That was your first
That was my
concert,
first
right?
concert. Yeah.
My first concert was the Gin Blossoms, actually. It was the Gin Blossoms and Goo Goo Dolls opened.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
Offspring with my father.
Wait, was it Offspring at Montage with Lit?
And the Dickies.
I was there. I was there. Yeah.
That was my first
I was
show.
there. Yeah. That was my second
That was
concert.
my first show.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
Offspring, Lit.
Yeah.
We had our
That's
first show
crazy.
together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Look at that. Hmm.
That was a good one.
I was there.
My
No.
a friend of mine actually snuck in my camera, and then was taking it out and dropped it in the toilet.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
at that show.
My
Yeah.
first show was actually it was like my grandfather. He just passed away. I'm actually named after him. He used to take me to, like, he'd be like, "Oh, let's go for a ride," and then all of a sudden we were at Iram Temple, and there was like some bluegrass band playing. That was my first show. I remember being a little kid, and it was the first time I saw a guy playing bass. And I was like, "Why is he playing that guitar like that?" He was like, he was like,
yo-yo.
I was like, "What is he doing? That guitar is huge."
Better he's tiny.
Yeah, but that's my first concert at the Iram Temple.
Oh man.
Speaking of first, too, Jess Mione, who put together this festival that we're going to talk about in a minute
Yes.
this weekend. What was your first CD that you bought?
Oh man. I remember
Mine
this.
was my first CD was Green Day Dookie.
Nice. That's a good one to start out with.
Mm-hmm.
First
Go ahead.
first one I ever bought. I believe, like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was My Chemical Romance's album, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. Because I remember seeing the video on MTV, and I'm like, this is different.
He's the young one.
Yeah, I'm young.
Do you remember those Columbia House things where you could order a bunch of CDs for a
Yeah.
penny
Yeah.
and then sometimes never pay it and nothing happened?
Yeah.
That's where I got my first CDs. Savage Garden, the first album. That was my first one.
So good. So
Yeah,
good.
it's a very good
That
album.
was hard for me too. I remember the first CDs. Like I had a bunch of tapes, and my parents got me Pearl Jam, the first Pearl Jam album, and that was a tape. That and then
It's okay.
and then then they bought me 2 CDs. They bought me the Metallica Black album and the Beatles anthology. And I was like,
Those
okay,
are good
that's
ones.
it's just all over the place.
Yeah.
But I guess they knew I
that's
liked
good.
the Beatles and
Yeah.
Metallica.
Tapes or something.
And
Why are they coming back?
Dude, my first,
Yeah.
if you're going to go over the first tape,
Because they give
my
people
first tape,
memories.
yeah.
my first tape was MC Hammer. Please Hammer, don't hurt him.
Snoop Dogg, I had that too.
With Can't Touch This.
I had Queen. I had a Queen tape that I think my parents just started buying CDs because they were like getting hot at the time. I'm like showing my age a little
Yeah.
bit.
Aerosmith,
But
Greatest
I had
Hits.
this Queen tape, and I used to go nuts to it. And I actually
was
make
one
my
of
own
my
radio
tapes.
shows on my brother's. My brother had like a Fisher Price karaoke
Yeah.
machine, and I'd make my own radio
Oh, I
shows
used
and
to
play
love
Queen on it. all
those.
the- Yeah.
Pop a tape in and
Yeah.
you're annoying your parents all day. Yeah.
So I was actually on a radio show like when I was a little kid. Nobody ever heard it, but
That's awesome.
So with you guys having the unique sound that you have with all these different influences together, has that helped you get shows, or has that been an impediment in terms of trying to sell yourself or book yourself at certain things and stuff like that? How's that worked out for you guys?
mostly just trying to match up the other bands that we're playing with is the hardest
great.
I
part.
think
yeah.
it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Both. I think we have an appeal because of how eclectic and different we are. A lot of people compliment us by saying, there's nothing like this. I don't know how to categorize you, and I love that. And that's a pretty big compliment for me,
Sure.
Like, I
Like
love
even
that.
Vinny, he was saying he just doesn't know who to book
And
us
then
with.
at the same time, Vinny's like, I want you guys to play here, but I don't know who you'd play with, so never mind.
You guys need to get arrested.
So,
Yeah.
Like people throw us on like Doom shows and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like-
No, I do
Yeah.
feel good with Earthbound,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have fun,
Play with
but it's
guitar.
Which is
it's
still
like.
cool, yeah.
But then Ruckzuck, we've made friends with them. They're really cool.
Yo,
Yeah.
check them out.
And they
They'll
are
be at
really
Bad Trip
good,
Fest.
really cool
Yeah.
people. They're going to be playing at the Bad Trip Fest.
Yeah, female-fronted psychedelic band.
And then that Babel map we met down in Harrisburg. they're-
Also female-fronted
really cool.
psychedelic, yeah.
We've been slowly meeting, and King Kidding was around, and then
King
they
Kidding.
broke up. I bet they're going to do another
They're
show.
planning
Yeah.
an album release show.
Yeah.
But
It's coming
that
up.
was an easy one. It's
Excited
like
for
if
that.
we had a show, it's like King Kidding. You know,
Yeah, we
we'll
love
play
those
with them
guys.
because
just
They're
fit.
awesome.
it just
Yeah.
worked out. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly just hard trying to find other people to play with. Like that was the big thing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of awesome bands, like a lot of good like punk and alternative bands, but it wasn't really necessarily in the same vein. Like we're alternative, but in a different way.
There's
Yeah.
the crowds that want normalcy, and that's where we don't fit. But
Mhm.
then there's the ones that want something unique and different, and that's where we do. So it's like, it's both.
And then there's the crowds that just want like
Play
They want to like mosh.
Yeah.
Does that still happen? That Freebird guy? Does he still exist?
There's still
Sometimes
that.
I think it's a joke now at this point.
It's been a joke for a long time.
It's like a bad joke.
Yeah.
It's, it's like a.
It hurts
It's
a little
beyond dad joke at this point.
Cringy.
Like a dad joke, you're like, eh.
You know what's
No,
really starting to,
Yeah, you're
The
just like pure
funniest,
cringe.
the funniest thing that happened was at your NEPA scene, Rising Talent. Zach Hammond went up to do his comedy thing, and he ran out of things to say. And he's like, I don't know what to talk about. Tell me what to talk about. And somebody yelled Freebird, and it killed me. It was the funniest thing. Because it's such a funny concept, yelling
talk about
Freebird
Freebird?
to a
That
comedian.
kind of is funny.
Shiny, did he talk about Freebird?
No, he didn't. But it just cracked me up. I don't even think he heard it, but it was just so
I wish
funny
you
to
did.
me.
I really wish you did.
It was
I
so
don't know
funny
if you
to
guys,
me.
I don't know if you guys know. You're familiar with Katie Kelly's music.
Sure.
So we're playing. I was playing with her down in Gettysburg the one time, at this Irish bar, and somebody was yelling "Some 41," and it's like, did you just hear us play like 10 songs? Like, do we?
What?
Why would you think we would play some, like?
This folk American.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just
Some
we've got
play
that
some
one.
41. It's like, yeah, we got that up. Come on, yeah, we got that down. It's like a weird folk group. We're gonna play some 41. Hey, there's my mom. Hi, mom.
Hey, there's your mom.
Now, speaking of open mics, Jamie,
Moms.
you host.
Speaking of,
Yeah. I like that transition. That was nice.
Speaking of moms,
Sorry.
Hey, how's your mother?
say hello to your mother for me.
How's your mom doing?
That's where you're going, and you didn't do it.
I'm done.
yes, I host an open mic. We call it Open Call with Jami Kali. Every Thursday night, 9 till midnight at Border Bar in Pittston, right on the bypass. And it's really cool because it's bringing out not only musicians, but artists, creative people that don't seem to normally have an avenue for expression. We've had comedians, performance art, electronic musicians, a lot of solo acts. We have full bands. There's a local indie band called The Cryptid who are really cool. They come out and play often.
It's my brother's band.
Yeah, that's Shiny's brother's band. So there's it's like a basket of all different stuff, and it's really cool to, everyone that plays is so appreciative that they have this avenue for expression, and I love being able to do that for the local scene, you know, like spotlight this talent that otherwise slips through the cracks, you know.
Sure.
Are you guys gonna fight?
No, quite the opposite. You know, I like when other people are doing stuff too, because it just raises awareness of, you know, all of the art that's going on in the area, and how many people do get overlooked because they don't have an outlet or somewhere to go or something like that. And you know, it's better when they work together. I know there's definitely some that I've had, you know, some that, you know, even schedule on the same night and whatever, and they're like kind of looking to take the audience away. And I think everybody would just kind of, it would be better if everybody worked together and like said, hey, you know, maybe once you're done performing here, maybe you want to go over to these guys on Thursday and hit this place on Friday and that kind of thing. Because it doesn't have to be a one night of the week kind of thing. You know, you can go to multiple mics and stuff like that and not be, you know, loyal to just one or the other or something like that. I think people have that impression, you know, you can only do like, you know, one or something like that. Because we've had people that come to my mics that have started other open mics. Like the Adezo mic is a lot of the same people that have started at the NEPA Scene mic and stuff that people have, you know, met through. I mean, we've done it at a couple different venues, and, you know, people say, hey, you know, this one, we need something here. You know, we did an all ages one for a little while at Adezo too, because there's a lot of those kids that don't have an outlet either.
Yeah, they don't have a place to go.
Exactly, you know, and a lot of them are in bars just because they're the ones that are open to that kind of stuff, and that's great. But then, you know, what do you do if you're under 21? You know, that's a tough thing for us too, because a lot of these kids want to play our mic and win prizes and stuff like that. And it's like you have to, you know, be there with your parents if you're like 18 to 20 and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's hard. You know, your parents got to sit there all night with you. And,
Yeah, we've had
you
a
know,
handful of kids come with their parents that just hung out the whole night.
My brother, Cody Novitsky, he works at Curry Donut down on Pennsylvania Ave
Yeah.
in Wilkes-Barre, and they put shows on in the back,
Yeah, it's amazing.
and
yeah.
it's awesome.
all
Like
ages
it's
curry
so
shows.
cool.
Those are
Yeah.
really
I love
Curry
those
shows.
shows. The last one got rained out on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get so pumped about those because
They're
it's
so
like
cool.
people can bring their dogs and their kids, and it's awesome.
And you
I
know,
love all ages
people
shows.
want to go to that to actually hear music.
Yeah.
You know, they're not
They're
there
not-
to like have a drink.
Yeah,
and,
they're
like,
not.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
they're
there's a
exactly.
bar. Yeah, whatever.
Exactly.
You know, like,
I don't know
that
this
kind of
crap.
thing. Like, they're,
Yeah,
they're
they're-
specifically going
yeah.
because they want to hear.
They're
that
music
stuff.
fans. They're
Right.
coming out
Just
to
makes
hear
it feel good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody's positive, and there's actually a thing. There's a rule: no alcohol or drugs. Like,
Yeah.
which is great. Like, everybody's basically sober, as far as I know,
As
and
far
they're
as
just
I know.
watching.
Yeah.
Like they're just there to hear music. So
Yeah.
Right.
it's great. Need more of that.
Now, you have any? I know I have a million stories of like things that I never expected to see or people I never expected to meet at those open mics. Do you have any of those so far of the few months that you've been doing this?
Well, there was an acoustic musician up on stage performing, and he had sunglasses on, and a man that had previously played, he was playing the piano, came up to the stage and said, "Hey dude, take the shades off." And the acoustic performer said, "No, man, you take your pants off." And the guy dropped
Actually
his
started
pants.
taking his pants off. Yeah.
And we're like,
Yeah.
no.
Dude, I've been to every one. Why did I miss that? Where was I?
You must have been in the bathroom
I
or
think
something.
you turned your head for a moment while he dropped his drawers.
You see what I
you
missed?
turned your head.
You see what I
Yeah,
missed?
You turned your head.
And he went to work out at Planet Fitness.
Right.
Saw
Yeah.
that.
There's that one.
That was a Judgment Free zone.
Can you think of any?
It's I don't know. It's all blending together at this point. Like,
Yeah. Shiny, do you have any stories? Because he's always there too.
I got nothing.
yeah.
I got nothing on this one.
It's
very
pretty.
civil.
It's
It's
pretty
been-
laid
yeah, it's
back.
been-
and
It's very laid back.
We let-
Yeah.
It's sometimes there's a lot of people there and we have to cut people off, but a lot of times like there's these certain weeks where there's not as many people, so like they could just go nuts. Like you just do whatever you want, man.
was-
like
There was an electronic musician that played, and we told him about 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
maybe.
yeah.
Almost like one of the early.
Half hour comes, he's still jamming. 45 minutes, he's still
And we
going.
can't even get his attention.
Yeah,
He's
we're
just like
waving him.
he's just like
We're ready
focused.
to bring out that hook where you
Yeah.
like pull someone off
Yeah.
the stage, you know.
Yeah.
But so there was that one.
I've
Take
I've had
a stick
quite
and
a few
start
of those.
pointing his leg.
Yeah.
and
Even
get
adding a
attention.
clock has not helped sometimes.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
people are just like completely
Yeah.
Yeah.
and keep going.
Yes.
I remember, I talked to James Callahan about it maybe about a month or so ago, and he said something about a guy who came with like coffee pots or something,
Yeah.
and he played.
Yeah,
like,
I was
Kyle
just thinking
Rebar.
Dude, yeah, I
Kyle
forgot
Rebar,
about that. That was so
performance artist.
cool.
He had
That's
he had a looper
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he basically made this performance piece and then made a cup of coffee. By the end of it, he had a cup of
Could
coffee.
drink
and
the
drank it.
coffee.
He actually
Yeah.
made coffee
Yeah.
during a set. Like,
Kyle's
like
a
that was
really
part
good
of the
musician.
Yeah, it was like really. That was a
That's
really
so
intelligent,
cool. Yeah.
crafty thing. Like,
Kyle
like
Rebar, there's not one thing he's not good at. He's a filmographer. He does poetry, performance art. I actually met him at the Doghouse Saloon in Hazleton when Mock's Son just started. We played this contest where all the drinkers have to keep drinking and they get tokens and they vote for the best act. Kyle's band Wisdom and Mock's Son, we both lost, but we met each other there. Of course,
That's the important
someone doing covers won that night, but yeah,
They play Freebird.
yeah. Freebird won the night.
Every fucking time.
yeah. every damn time.
We want to talk about the shows you guys have coming up. Now, the Burning Roses Jamboree, we talked about that in depth last week. We had 4 female musicians on the show, and so if you missed that show, go back in our archives and watch it. It was a great show. It was a really good discussion.
That's going to be Pity Party's last
Yeah,
performance.
Pity Party's
yeah,
last
I know, I
performance.
love
Hopefully
them so
not,
much.
but
Such a bummer.
hopefully not.
Love
but
Pity
Yeah.
Party.
it might be.
You never know.
We did their first interview, so it was cool.
Yeah.
It's And I might not be able to catch it because we have a show on Saturday night at Carl Hall connected to
place.
the show.
Yeah, a little far away.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it between the two.
Yeah, they're
So
both
it kinda
early
sucks.
shows too, so it's
Yeah, I'm hoping that. Well, I want to catch some of the musicians early in the day and then leave to come up, and maybe somebody will tape it for me or something. Somebody will record it.
there's something we found out recently too. If it rains, it's gonna be moved to the Keys.
Yes.
The
I'm
Burning
really hoping it doesn't, and it looks like it's not.
I love
so
playing
far.
outside.
So far, it's gonna be okay.
Hopefully.
We love the Keys. We'll probably go there afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll be there. If you want to come hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll be there.
we'll be at the Keys. If we're playing outside, we'll be at the Keys after, or we'll be
Yeah.
at the Keys all day.
Yeah.
So
That's such a good fun.
at some point,
But yeah.
And then Bad Trip Fest comes up after that.
That's right. Yeah.
That's August 25th, and that one's going to be at Border Bar. There's a really awesome outdoor stage, which is a new addition, the Camp Rattler outdoor stage. That one is going to be with Gods of Space, Earthmouth, Family Animals. I can't think of who else right now.
Isn't right?
Rucksack's in
Rucksack and
Rucksack,
Babble
yeah.
Map,
It's-
yeah.
it's- So it's a bunch of- it's like
Rucksack's on
a
there.
bunch of
Freaks.
a bunch of our friends. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Help put this
It's
together.
gonna be a freak
It's
fest.
almost like we put the show together.
Yeah.
Well, Jess is one of us.
Those
Yeah,
fools.
yeah,
Yeah.
She's
yeah.
like-minded.
Those fools.
Yeah.
Jess is one of us.
And then September 21st, we're playing at Carl Hall with Little Star Run and Katie Dressed Up, which is an indie folk duo from Philly. And November 2nd, we're playing at this art gallery called Scott Church Studios.
Yes.
That seems like a really
Down in
rad
Lebanon.
place. It's in Lebanon.
Lebanon,
We
yeah.
haven't been there yet,
Lebanon.
but we heard good
Lebanon.
things. So
Lebanon.
that's what we have lined up so far.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about too, because we talked about it on the show last week and whenever, I don't want to get into the full discussion like we did last time. We went pretty in depth with it, but do you feel like women are treated differently in the music industry? Is that something that has impeded you at all, or is it something that's helped you? Do you have any experiences with that in general?
I feel like not just in the music industry, but in every avenue of life, we're treated kind of like we're dumb. Like
You're good for a girl.
Yeah,
It's like that one,
you get
right?
that-
That's like
you
the
get that
worst one
everywhere.
ever.
And if anything, I take it as a challenge. It's empowering to know that no, you don't fit into that category, and there isn't. There's many differences, but when it comes to creating something, we're just all people, and I'm a girl doing what a bunch of guys do. You know what
It
I mean?
has nothing
So,
to do with sex. It's about what
Right.
you've taken in your brain over life. Like,
Yeah,
it's like
but taking
that's what comes out like as an artist. Like,
But
it
when
doesn't
soc-
matter what sex you are. It's
Right.
what comes in and comes out.
It can go
But
the same way.
society
Yeah.
having these preconceived notions, I'm happy to challenge them, and say, well, I could do this too.
Yeah, it can go both ways. Like, wow, you're a good singer for a guy. Like, it can go
Yeah.
either way, really.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why it would be separated. You know?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense.
You look
but-
nice in that dress for a guy. That's the one I get all the time.
When you shave.
Yeah. Oh God.
But then again,
That old
because
time Charlie's the one time when that guy came up behind me and grabbed my butt, and then I turned around and I had a beard, and just seeing his face, like it was great because I had the long hair.
then again, when you're a female and you're involved in the media and stuff, and just the fact that you're a girl sometimes brings attention. Like someone might not even listen to your music, but it's like, oh yeah, that band's cool because there's a chick lead singer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I know
It's
Rich.
like-
Rich said it the last podcast when there's the token girl in the band.
Yeah.
Like you even
Yes.
referenced like A Perfect Circle and
Yeah.
bands like that.
Smashing
That
Pumpkins,
does happen.
and
It
things like that.
really
All the
does
bands
happen.
in the '90s who had Kim as a
Yeah.
bass player, like a girl
Yes.
named Kim as a bass player. There's like about 10
Yeah.
bands.
And some of it just might be just happenstance, and other stuff might be like, oh, we need marketing, let's put a nice girl up front.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. Because it was so much of that especially in that era where record companies kind of ruled the world.
Yeah.
You know, we're making so much money off
Trying to
these
sell
guys.
sex appeal and
Yeah, exactly. So they're, you know, they had an idea of like, okay, yeah, you guys got a good sound, but you know, maybe you need to do this or that and that kind of thing, and that
lose some weight
definitely
and
was
shave.
a little
She
bit.
doesn't have to plug in her instrument. It's fine. No one will notice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for both, and both are organized by Jess Bioni too. So
Yes.
we
Yeah,
wanna
she's
give a
awesome.
shout out to her.
She's so
great.
awesome. Yeah.
Such a big supporter of this arts.
And she's very talented at organizing, putting these like
Yeah.
really cool things together.
She's really good at like just nailing the types of bands to throw together.
They mesh well.
Like the flow of the night. Like we did the Bad Trip in the Courthouse Square last year,
Yeah,
and the whole flow of the day was so
it's
awesome.
very
Like,
smooth.
yeah, it rained a little bit, and then we moved.
She even had a
Yeah.
backup venue in case
Yeah.
it was rained out. She's really professional.
Yeah, it's good times. Good people.
We have a couple more questions, so we'll try to get through them really quickly before we wrap up. Some of them are a little loaded, so I don't know how much we'll be able to get to. Jason Lilly says, "What was your worst gig?"
Oh, well,
Matt didn't even
Matt,
see that.
You guys know right away.
yeah.
I
It
knew I was gonna
actually
practice with
it
you
was
guys,
actually
yeah,
one
but
of our
yeah.
first shows. Like
Yes.
as the early on into Call Him Out, before Matt even joined,
Yeah.
we did an acoustic show at a. I'm not gonna name drop the place, but it's in Scranton.
And it's in close proximity to one of our favorite bars, the Keys.
Yeah,
Not gonna say
it's
where,
near
but
the
it's very
Keys.
close.
Wait, did we say the name?
No.
Oh,
No, we didn't. And I knew I knew it was gonna be bad.
Yeah.
And we walked in, and everybody was singing along to "I Got Friends in Low Places." I'm like, this is not.
Oh man.
Our scene.
right.
Back up.
This is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
out.
So we start playing. We're playing, and it was an acoustic set. So again, it wasn't our full, sound. But
Sure.
I remember there was this one. At one point, I think we were like two or three songs in. There was this girl at the bar going, "Play something fast. I'm falling asleep." And I'm like, and so.
And she had the heavy bitch face on.
Yeah.
Heavy bitch face.
And then we were told one more song. We were told we were like 3 songs in. They're like, you guys are one more song. So as we're picking one more song, jukebox goes on.
DMX. not just the
That was the
jukebox,
first
DMX.
like Call Him Out show.
That's
And then
Yeah,
everybody's,
yeah.
and then DMX comes on and everybody's like, yeah.
It hasn't
We're
happened
like,
yet.
Dance
"Oh,
floor
man,
all that.
Yeah.
we shouldn't have been here. Like,
Yeah.
We were asked to play this show
They
too.
still-
We never played there
That
before.
sucks. That
They
really
still
sucks.
paid us,
Yeah,
So they threw us the finger and gave us our pay.
yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah,
Yeah,
At least you got that much. A lot of places.
yeah.
right.
won't even give you the money.
Even if they say that was a great job, they don't.
Bye.
Right.
See ya.
Hope you liked the exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want a Miller Lite?
$5.
Grant Williams, who we mentioned earlier. What are your favorite things about the scene, and your least favorite things about the scene?
Oh God, that's.
I know
Whoa!
it's a
Why are you doing this, Grant? Why?
Damn it, Grant.
All of you.
I like a lot of things. about the scene.
I like a lot of things
I
about
can't say anything bad, so
I
I'm
don't-
not
can't- I don't
answering that.
I don't really
dislike
hate
anything
anything
about
about it.
One of the frustrating things about the scene is how it's somewhat of a roller coaster with regards to involvement, and the excitement level will die down at times. People won't come out, or bands won't support each other. But then when it rises, it's really cool. So it's always
There's
like
always
a,
like that pocket of people though that
yeah.
there's-
My favorite thing is the camaraderie and just how much
Yeah.
we support each other
Mm-hmm.
and consider each other just like a family, a
Yeah.
big musical family.
Yeah.
And that's how we found each other too, because of the musical family.
yeah.
That's always been my favorite thing. Is the I can't talk. Camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
It's a tough word.
You know, it is. It's like Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
But
Worcestershire.
but yeah, I love I love everything Rich does, and there's a lot of people in the area that's
Yeah.
supporting, and Jen from the Keys and everybody, V Spot. Everyone's doing it, and there's a lot of cool young bands coming up, and it's like a family, and that's the reason why we're together too. I mean, our former projects played together, and it's just like one big musical family, and that's what I love about it. There's definitely a family feel to it.
I
Which
remember
is nice.
570 Mindfire blog, which I don't think it's currently active, wrote a large article about the musical incestry that takes place in our scene, because we'll have bands and then this person will start something with this person and we'll all just like intertwine, make different projects. So he was calling it musical incest, but I mean that's one way to put it.
I was actually
Family's another way.
I was actually brainstorming last night to start like a thing called ... and friends, or etc. and friends, and just like have a bunch of people show up on this certain, like once a month maybe, and just like with a bunch of instruments and like just
Jam out.
play each other's songs. Like everybody's playing each other's songs. Like you pick 2 songs and you send it to everybody and you learn a little bit of it. Like you just riff over it, and it just, who knows, you might.
I'd love to see. I've been talking about this for a while. I'd love to see a whole album, like a mixed album of everybody playing each other's songs. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, like a split.
And then
Yeah,
once them all
that-
interpret each other's music, and
Like,
then
I go
bands
back to,
that,
like-
don't belong together at
That'd be
all.
really
and-
cool.
I was pretty young, like in the 90s. Like I was saying that Terry Childers, like who I first started playing with, and Jay Morgan's another person I've been in a band with, and has been playing forever, like around here, since they were a long time. Like it was like the 90s, you know.
Yeah.
They were like doing shows, and they cover each other's songs and stuff, and it's like it's like they're 2 local musicians they discovered.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
Can we cover an Earthmouth song?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it in a polka style.
Focus.
Polka style, Satan's Den.
With
Yeah.
horns. Ska section.
Yes.
Yeah.
Need ska.
It could be like a Weird Al version.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll go through just a bunch of random comments really quick that weren't necessarily questions, but more or less observations, whatever. Vinny said the V-Spot should have provided the sticky icky. I wasn't aware that was on the menu, V-Spot.
I don't know what that means.
Sticky icky.
But
Is
I
he
like
Snoop Dogg now? I'm just kidding.
Sounds like a mumble
Sticky
rapper,
icky,
like
shut
a lyric or something. I don't like a sticky icky.
Fred Griffins says, "Hey, tell the drummer that Tommy Winter was a close friend of mine. I didn't know he passed. I am so far away from home. Yeah, it's a shame.
It is
He
a
has
shame, man.
There's a really cool benefit show coming up, and everybody should go to that.
Right, yes.
We were the first ones to talk about it on our site. You can go look up the article now. There's a great list of musicians. That are
Yeah,
playing
Tommy
all
was a
over.
really good friend of mine. He taught me drum lessons when I was a kid, and then he was my marching band instructor. So I've known him a long time. So when I took lessons from him, that was like early '90s. I was probably like in 3rd grade. He was probably about 17.
Allegory Indio says
That's
new
my-
album rocks. Just saying.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a coworker and friend. And friend.
Allison Duketsky says Goo Goo Dolls was my first concert too. It was a good. I've seen them a couple times. They're fun to watch. You know, that video keeps going around forever. Them playing in the rain.
Yeah.
It's like incessant. Like it's a great video. I've seen it way too many times, but you know everybody shares that video, that like one video of them playing in the rain. I think it's almost a meme at this point. And Tom Sigurdsson, who we'll be seeing on Saturday at our show at Carl Hall, suggests if anybody gets rowdy in the crowd too, throw an axe at them.
Yes.
There's always that.
Well, you could invite
Red.
Thomas the Red
He's
as
always welcome to do that.
Yeah,
you
good
know.
idea.
just bring Thomas the Red as your security.
Yeah, there you go.
Fine.
Exactly.
And if anybody yells Freebird, you could just
Heads
like,
will roll.
Literally.
who knows what kind of weapon he'll pull out. But
Could be a bird.
Yeah. So you should go to the festival in Nay Aug, and then you should head over to Carl Hall at night. We're doing a unique little comedy show. because Thomas the Red won the last season of NEPA Scene Rising Talent, so he's going to headline a show. We're going to have Angelia Petrillo and two of Thomas's friends from Joey Tepedino are going to open the show, and Ellie Rose is going to play as well, who was also a finalist in NEPA Scene Rising Talent. So she's going to play a couple acoustic songs.
Ellie's cool. She does
Yeah,
an
she's
open
great.
call sometimes.
Yes.
We love Ellie.
She has like an all ages thing there too,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Same night as mine, once a month.
Grab it.
I'm not sure which day a month. I think it's the last one, the last Thursday. She does the all ages right before.
Okay.
mine.
Yeah, and she played
Nice.
the open call thing, and she was like, she was pulling out Sam Cooke songs and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
she's really cool.
yeah, really cool.
She's-
like for a young person,
for
like,
being so young,
yeah,
yeah, she's
having
got
that open,
Well-rounded, yeah.
that eclectic taste is like sometimes odd in nowadays. Like everything's kind of
You don't expect it, yeah.
predictable.
Yeah, she's got a killer voice too.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. All the details are on our Facebook page, so if you want to check that out as well. And if you want to vote for us too, if you enjoyed the show tonight, we're in the Steamtown Music Awards. We're in the running for Best Podcast. The link is in the description right above here where we are now. So if you want to click that link and you want to vote for us, that'd be awesome too.
You can vote for us there too.
Yes,
Yeah.
you guys are in.
I don't think we can be voted for. I think the panel has to
Oh,
decide.
yeah,
But
yeah. Oh, okay.
yeah, we want
There's
to
a couple
say
different categories.
we want
Yeah.
to say thank you to everyone that voted for us. We're up for Indie Act of the Year, along with Shiny's Brothers Band The Cryptid. I'm up for Female Vocalist of the Year, and Shiny's up for Best Drummer. So
Nice.
yeah, thank you everybody. We really appreciate it. We love you.
One of the other nominees, always undecided, just commented too, Kalima for life.
They're great. They're great.
Yeah.
Slayer guys
Good
are the new
guys.
Freebird guys. that's,
Yeah.
that's why I can't wait to see Slayer on Tuesday, so that you can all
So
of
you
those
can yell
people.
Freebird at them.
Yeah. All those people that yell Slayer at every show, they'll be
Yeah,
satisfied.
so you can
'cause
yell
will
Slayer and they'll
be
actually
there.
play a Slayer
Yeah,
song.
exactly. Is everyone going to yell Slayer during the other bands, though? That's my question.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure inevitably will be yes. And Michael Turner says, tell John Popko to pound a full beer to end the show.
If we had any left, I
Yeah,
might.
we're all out.
We're
I
all
should have
tapped
told you to
out.
get some of the Lion Brewery has a new.
Oh yeah, like
A
the
white
Belgian,
Belgian?
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Next time,
Yeah, next time.
Mike. Next week, we'll pound beers.
Make sure you tune in next week.
Mike, you gotta come pick me up.
Just
though.
have a whole show of people just slamming beer.
Yeah, that's the entire show.
And see what happens.
Blue box
the
style. How many beers can we drink
Might be one of the greatest hits.
in the show? we need some kind of gimmick.
Yeah, you think?
You guys can talk, and I'll just pound beers.
Okay.
I won't get divorced, and my son won't hate me. So there's no chance of those things happening if I pound beers the whole time.
That's fair. We got to do something.
It's all for the show. I'm taking one for
yeah,
the team.
yeah. it's so hard to reach people on Facebook nowadays.
You know
they
what?
limit everything that you do.
You know what,
so
though?
You know, the word of mouth thing is starting to pop. Like even like
That's the way to go.
and it's like you even it's not even like conscious either. It's just like talking to people and you're just like name dropping.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just catch yourself. You're like, oh, I just like name dropped a bunch of people. Like, okay. And everybody, yeah, like we learn about people through other people and vice versa. It's constant. And that's what the scene needs. Everybody.
True sense of community, you know.
And the open mic certainly helped that as well.
Yeah.
Because you're going to meet people and hang out and hopefully, that's why we're kind of moving away from the contest part of it, because some people don't, I think take the contest part too seriously. So we're kind of moving that part online and kind
Yeah.
of making it more of. We just want everybody to get together and have a good time and play the show.
That's
and
what we
drums
showed
and
up
stuff
on
like
that last time around.
Yeah, yeah.
We just wanted to do it just because a bunch of our friends were doing it. And
Right.
It's like,
That was the
And then you
one
end up in
thing-
it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, geez.
That was the
Shiny
one
was
thing I
talking
meant
about it. It
to-
just sounded so fun. We're like, let's
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah, I meant to mention I overheard a couple people that performed at Open Call saying, "Hey, we should collaborate sometime," and that's what it's all about.
That's,
like you know,
that's so important.
Yeah.
people linking up and finding just like others that like
Yeah,
feel
that like people
same.
that don't have any connections to get shows and
Our friend Eric came from Toby Hanna. where he said he couldn't find anyone to jam with, and like he was hoping to link up with people, you know, because he heard the Scranton scene was hopping at this time. So, so yeah, that's cool.
It definitely is. So, you know, you cynics who say that there's nothing to do in the area, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's totally
More than
there
just
totally is.
bars.
I mean, like, even when there's not a show, there's, like, a lot of trails and, like, wildlife. If you're in the
yeah.
nature,
So much
like,
to
there's
do.
tons of... There's a ton of things to do. I think everybody just wants, like, that instant gratification. They don't want to, like, actually go and do something.
Yeah,
You actually
they
gotta
wanna
leave
watch
your
it on
house.
TV.
Give me something now.
It's
People
like a
spend
lot of
money,
times
too.
it's like
Yeah.
arguing politics with people. Like no matter
Yeah.
how many facts you hit them over the head with, they just no. This is the way I think, and I'm entitled to my opinion. That's completely wrong, and I'm just going to go with it. And people have that attitude about like, well, no, Scranton sucks, Wilkes-Barre
Yeah.
sucks, everything here sucks, and
Yeah, it's
there's
ignorance,
nothing you can do to convince me otherwise. It's terrible. The music's terrible. Everything's terrible.
Yeah.
Go
And
out
then-
to a show.
Then this great venue like Carl Hall, like it sounds so good in there, and it's such a cool
it
place.
does.
It's all ages, and
That's
you
really
could bring
cool.
your own beer. Like,
Yeah.
and
They're very
and there's
hospitable.
people that don't even know about it. It's like you're looking for something to do, and you don't even know this awesome place just popped up right under your nose.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
Absolutely.
man.
So make sure you check them out at the absolutely free Burning Roses Jamboree. So you can't even argue about the cover. You have to. You can go to this one, Nay Aug
That's an
Park in
all
Scranton.
festival.
Let's hang out and have a picnic
28.
together in the park.
A
Picnic.
A picnic.
And then the Bad Trip Psychedelic Music Festival, which is August 25th. So you got a little time to plan for that one.
Yeah.
As well.
So bring a big picnic basket to that one.
lot of blankets.
picnic basket.
Bring
And
your
some
blanket.
blankies.
And some blankets.
Any last minute plugs or anything we want to get in there before we wrap up here? You guys got the new album,
Check out the
self-titled.
album. We're on Bandcamp and Spotify.
Spotify
right now.
officially today.
Pretty soon
All
we
right.
will be
Yeah.
on
Great timing.
iTunes.
Even Napster. Like we're just waiting.
Napster.
We're just
I didn't know it still existed.
like we're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
waiting for the okay. We're gonna be on
Yeah.
all of it.
iHeartRadio, all over the internet. So
Like
check
basically
it out.
anything you could think of, we're gonna
LimeWire.
LimeWire, I was gonna say.
some weird foreign ones that I never heard of. We'll
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that.
all over the net.
We're not responsible if your computer gets viruses.
Yeah. But yeah, Spotify
I
today.
hope you have two
Officially.
computers.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Like I said, if you enjoyed the show, please share it, let people know about it, and make sure you like these guys on Facebook, follow everything that they're doing.
Give us a like.
And we'll like you back.
Well, we'll like you
We'll
back.
like you.
In here.
Thanks,
In here, though.
everybody.
Thanks.
And thank you, Beer Boys.
And
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for
And listen next week.
Sponsors.
Pay attention to the NEPA scene and thing.
Is V-Spot still on?
What's that?
Is V-Spot still one of your guys?
Yeah.
Thank you, V-Spot.
Absolutely.
Fuck you, Eddie.
We have fun there.
Yeah.
That's it.